Oh, yes. I knew it always would come to this. The most likely return to Destiny is a Destiny 1 remake. What I could tell you guys. All ye who spoketh thy shit. It's been weeks, but fans are still mourning the end of Destiny 2, which has reached its end of service and even gotten its last hotfix after hundreds of layoffs of the team supporting the game at Bungie. There does not seem to be any way that decision will be reversed. But fans want to know how and why Sony would abandon this historic IP completely. Nothing has been announced, and even I don't have any inside information on what's coming next, which last I heard, it's nothing. But if we were talking about future potential here, I really only see one pathway toward revisiting the Destiny IP anytime soon. I don't mean the barely hanging on Destiny Rising mobile game. The main request, Destiny 3, is not happening for ages, if ever. Yeah, I personally just don't think Bungie's got the appetite. Or not Bungie, Sony. Sony doesn't have the appetite for it. Now, let me be clear. D3 is the right choice. Right now, Sony doesn't have the appetite for it. But to be quite honest with you, I think Sony is just making just stupid, illogical decisions here. So can't work with that. You know what I mean? Sony has soundly rejected that idea because of risk and sky-high costs. I know there are other Destiny adjacent games being pitched as potential projects for Bungie, but none have been greenlit. And I don't know what genre those are even meant to be. Now, there seems to be one obvious conclusion about how Sony might return to Destiny, and that is a remake of the original Destiny. First released in 2014. The famed 6 out of 10 at launch seemed like it was a borderline failed experiment for Bungie, but through years of additions and changes, it went on to be one of the most successful live games of all time. It spawned not just a sequel, but many imitators, most of which flamed out. It took 11 years for Destiny to do the same. A Destiny 1 remake is logical for a few reasons. One, not that a remake is easy, but it is obviously less time consuming and costly than a full-on sequel. Yeah, much less. And Sony has remade or remastered every IP it has under the sun at this point, with half a dozen versions of something like the Last of Us series alone. Doing a single game like this does not seem like a stretch. And also, let me just say this, it would be such a noticeable improvement. We went back and replayed D1 here recently, and just playing it at high frame rates, high resolution, and higher field of view would be such a noticeable improvement over the what we currently play as, which is 30 FPS and 72 field of view. It hurts, man. It hurts the eyes. Now, Bungie may no longer have the manpower for such a project given these deep cut layoffs, but as Sony and other publishers often do, other teams are tasked with these kind of projects or can at least offer significant support. Much of Destiny 1 has already come to Destiny 2, including locations, strikes, and raids. Not all of it, of course, but it's absolutely a kickstart to be sure. I think the biggest thing is Wrath, right? Wrath of the Machine would be the biggest selling point. Of course, we've got Vault. We've got the better version of Vault. We got the better version of King's Fall, but D1 still has Wrath of the Machine. And you got the nostalgia play. See, you wouldn't drop Destiny 1 Year 3 on us and all the content. The way you have to do this is the way they did it with RuneScape. You gotta roll it out with the old sandbox in mind. I'm talking that week 1 experience. You wanna roll it out in such a way, the things it does to you internally when you start having these experiences again. Beautiful, man. I promise you it would work here. Destiny has offered enough quality of life changes to make this revisitation interesting. Not that everything should be carried over, of course. I don't want to see tier 5, 6 perk enhanced weapons over there, but you could say Ledge Mantle or any number of other common sense additions that Destiny 2 has added since the original. I think mantling, no sprint lock. There's a number of like just nice quality life changes, but I also think some of the things that should stay the same in D1. You know, I liked the simplicity of weapons inside of D1. I like the rarity of weapons in D1. It meant something to get a legendary drop. It took me 14 hours to get my first exotic drop when we just recently played again. It needs to maintain that. You can't just go in there and dump everything on us like you would in a D2. Destiny fans are now starving for Destiny content, practically going through withdrawal symptoms. While Destiny 2 is often accused of recycling content, many would love to revisit a full-on second go-around of Destiny 1 beyond the decade-old one that currently exists. The base game, The Dark Below, House of Wolves, The Taken King, Rise of Iron, it's a decent amount. Imagine just replaying Trials again in that environment, right? This would not have to be a Destiny 2 replacement, I mean. It couldn't be, but it could also produce at least some level of live, ongoing content the way we've seen with something like Diablo 2 Resurrected. It does not need to be near the scale of Destiny 2, or else all the same problems resurface again. Look, it would still be way cheaper. Way cheaper to make. Think about creatively. You don't have to add a whole new storyline. You have the roadmap in front of you. Got to dev it, of course, but you don't have to go in there and rethink the wheel. If anything, you want to maintain the exact roadmap you did for Destiny 1 when it first launched. Any deviation takes away from the nostalgia. This would sell a lot. I'm certainly convinced of that. It may be a one-off for many players, but it would be something to bridge the death of Destiny 2 and at least some hope that new Destiny content would arrive in the future, be it a separate type of game or a true sequel. This seems like a no-brainer, but Sony is not one to have all that many brains as of late. Agreed. If Sony would do this, there's a couple ways you can knock out two birds with one stone. One of those birds being you could show Sony the demand for the Destiny IP, which I think has already been very visible with Monument of Triumph. But okay, we'll extend that even further. Destiny 1 drops on PC, it comes back, it recalls a bunch of old players, a lot of people would jump back in. It would show Sony that demand. Number two, though, this could be the perfect opportunity for Bungie to make any significant engine upgrades, whether that be an engine jump to an entirely new engine. Trust me, conversations have been had about Unreal, or the overhaul to the Tiger engine. Again, one of the biggest limiting factors for Destiny 2 and building out that Destiny Forever, and I think a huge reason why we don't have the supposed Destiny Infinity, is the fact that the game was too large, that it could not sustain itself. You could not forever add content. There was always a cycling of content in and a cycling of content out. D1 would be that blank slate if you were to do a remaster of, hey, how do we build this in a way that could be built upon forever? That does not mean that a D1 should have everything from D2 ported into it. That's not what I'm saying. D1 should be remastered, be its own thing. It should capture the nostalgia. It should follow the same roadmap, the same nostalgia bait, the same sandbox. Give us all the content, maybe in an increased time frame. Instead of it being over a 3-year time frame, maybe 1 year, maybe a year and a half. Keep Destiny 2 what it is, but you build Destiny 3 on the systems that built D1, the remaster version, with that longevity in mind, so that you don't snag or f yourself however many years down the road. Another way you could make Destiny 1 remaster even more enticing, you could throw in the Red War campaign at the end of it, just to be like, hey, here's the Red War campaign, here's the Forsaken campaign. Those are big lifts, by the way. Huge lifts. And I'm not saying that that is required. I think D1 should just be D1 and what D1 was, and that stays the same. And what that would essentially do is, you know, that's kind of a, hey, we're sorry for getting rid of your shit. Here's the campaign experiences that we took away. That shit's gone though, right? I don't think it's actually gone. It's just not in a playable state. Are you telling me right now Red War and Forsaken don't exist in any capacity at Bungie? Get the it exists. 1000% exists. It's just not in a playable state, but it exists. It's amazing when studios find themselves in a pinch, suddenly the impossible becomes possible. Who would make a Destiny classic? Well, you just laid off half the studio, so that's a good question. I don't know. You got a lot of people you could hire back, but as we covered earlier today, seems like the only hiring at Bungie happening right now is for more people on the marathon team. So this is something that should have just been in the works already. You're telling me you'll be happy with them spending resources to make the same thing we played 10 years ago instead of a D3? Did you not read this article? 1000% all of us would prefer a D3 or a continuation of Destiny. It's not about what we want, although that's definitely a part of it. It's also about what Sony is willing to approve. And they're just not going to approve a D3 right now. They didn't even approve it back in 2023, 2024. How about some people are just tired of remaking old shit? That sounds great, guys. I love it. Everyone has made their stance very clear. Here's what Sony's going to do now. More Marathon. Congratulations, Destiny community. We're going to get Marathon 2. Remakes work, dude. Remakes do work. If they didn't work, people wouldn't do them. But that's what I'm saying. The two birds, one stone. This could really be something. And if it did really well, it sends a signal to Sony that, hey, let's make that sequel. Let's make that D3. At some point, Bungie's going to have to be honest with themselves and be honest with Sony. Their number one IP is Destiny. I think the narrative that they've really painted for Sony is that Destiny is just the reoccurring live service game, but the value is their other IPs, and it's not working out that way.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.